Everybody else good?
She's plugging in and then.
Thanks everybody online. While we are waiting here in the room, we have one more reporter plugging in the malt box, and then we'll be ready to go here in about a minute. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Keith Stevens. I have the privilege of serving as the Chief Communications Officer for CenterPoint Energy. The reason you're here today is we have winter weather approaching, and this is our first daily operational update that we'll be providing to the public and to our customers. Every single day when we come to work at CenterPoint Energy, we are thinking about those customers and communities that we have the great privilege to serve. So as we're thinking about this week, we've been monitoring this storm. We have some of my colleagues to the left of me here. We have meteorology represented. Matt Lanza, our chief meteorologist, is going to speak here in a moment. We also have Richard Leger, who heads our natural gas business with us. Nathan Brunel, who's in charge of our electric operations resiliency work. And then finally, we have Tony Gardner, who is our chief customer officer. So they're each going to share a few comments about all the preparations we're putting into place to make sure we're prepared for this weekend so that we can continue to serve electric and gas customers across the greater Houston area when it comes to electric. And then on the gas system, we go all the way from the Rio Grande Valley up to East Texas. So we have a big swath of territory we want to make sure everyone is being taken care of. So with that, we start every meeting with a safety moment. I'm just going to touch on this briefly about wires down. Should you see any wires down, please stay 35 feet away. And if you smell gas, there's some numbers up there on the screen where you can obviously call and report that to us, as well as 911. The real safety message I want to deliver today is that we would please admonish everyone across the greater Houston area and Southeast Texas. Let's listen to our state, our local, and our county leaders. They're admonishing us, please, to not travel this weekend. We would also make that plea to the public. We will have 3,300 people out on the system on the electric side and 700 odd people on the gas side working this weekend. We want them to be safe. And so please take the opportunity to stay at home, be with your families. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Matt Lanza to cover the meteorology part for us. Matt.
All right. Thank you, Keith, and good evening, everyone. It's good to be here. Getting ready for another winter storm. I think we all know as Texans that winter weather is particularly tricky to forecast. We don't get it too often every winter, but when we do, we got to be ready. And that's what we're doing this week. We identified the cold coming last week. We've talked about the storm. We got everybody prepared here at CenterPoint early, myself and our other meteorologist, Lena Jakowski. And we've watched the forecast over the last couple of days. Thankfully, it does seem as though the forecast has trended a little bit better, a little bit more encouraging in terms of less ice accumulation. We're now expecting, probably at worst a tenth to a quarter inch of ice across parts of our territory, specifically off to the north and west of Houston. But we are monitoring the weather every day. We've looked at many weather model runs, both publicly available and some tools that we have internally here. We're going to be monitoring the storm as it comes in with our weather station network that's now up to 150 weather stations across the area. So we're pretty excited to be able to kind of watch as conditions change to make sure that we inform anybody about when we do transition from plain rain over to ice. But I want to just kind of echo a couple things that Keith said. Please heed the advice of local officials telling you to stay off the roads. I think it's particularly important in a situation like this where temperatures do kind of just get to the freezing mark, that roadways can ice over very quickly, and it may not always be apparent that there is ice on the road. And so just slow down, take it easy, particularly on bridges and overpasses. The highway flyovers, I'm sure they'll be shut down as they turn icy. But again, use caution even if they're not shut down at that point if you do have to be out and about. But try not to. It's just one of those days in winter where we have to just be prepared to stay put and ride it out until things warm up. We're obviously also watching the cold with temperatures expected to be in the 20s, maybe even a few teens on Monday morning across the area. We've been preparing for that all week as well. We were in meetings all day informing senior leadership people in the field about what's happening and getting feedback from them about what they need in terms of weather information to help them more strategically prepare ahead ahead of this event. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Richard.
All right, we've been listening to CenterPoint Energy on their preparations for the winter storm. CenterPoint will deploy 3,300 workers to handle electrical concerns. They also will deploy gas workers, 700 of them to handle that.
To lead our natural gas business. What I want you to know is we have more than 700 frontline CenterPoint natural gas employees that are out in the field today and contractors to support the safe and reliable delivery of our natural gas to our customers. Over the time preparing for the storm, we've inspected more than 193 regulator stations. What's important about this is these are our above ground facilities that are exposed to ice and weather, and we've inspected them so that they are prepared and ready to deliver natural gas to our customers. And then lastly, we've stationed an additional 13 CNG trailers across our system, and this is designed to add additional supply should we need it in an emergency. But all in all, what I want you to know is our team is ready, and they're focused, and they're here for our more than 1.2 million Texas natural gas customers. Thank you, and I'm going to turn it over to Nathan to talk about our electric reliability.
Thank you, Richard. I'm Nathan Brownell. I lead our resiliency effort for here in the Houston electric area. So today I'd like to talk about our efforts and our preparations for the winter storm coming in. So as Matt had referenced, we've been tracking this winter storm for a little while now. Yesterday, we enacted our Emergency Operations Center. So this is the formal kickoff on our preparations for the winter storm. So things that you'll see from this is we've started to expand the number of resources that are within our system. So all off-site resources have been brought in to help us. So as of today, we have over 3,300 resources that are pre-staged, scattered throughout our system to be able to respond to these efforts. What are these crews doing? Well, they're really getting prepared for the type of work we're going to be seeing. So they've gone out there and inspected some of our critical infrastructure, like the substations. They're also doing enhanced vegetation, so areas where we have high risk, they're going out there to trim those trees. We've also set up 3 staging sites in areas that we believe are going to be needed because of incoming weather. So that's going to allow us to have rapid response to those crews, or to those areas. We think about coordination. We're coordinating with the City of Houston's Emergency Operations Center, ERCOT, and our Public Utility Commission. So we're all working together to make sure we have alignment of opportunities of coordination. So that's going to continue through this week. Now, I'd like to take a step back from this and not just talk about the work that we've done this week, but also the work that we've done over the last year and a half. So since 2024, we've done a ton of work to really harden our system. This is part of our greater Houston Resiliency Initiative. The way we look at it, we have the privilege to serve 2.9 million customers here in Houston. It's the 4th largest city. It's got one of the largest ports in the United States, largest medical center. It's a privilege to serve our customers. With that, our North Star is to be the most resilient coastal grid in the United States. From that, we've set an ambitious plan to do that. So you've seen us in our neighborhoods installing larger poles that are going to be withstanding hurricane winds up to 132 miles an hour. That's actually going to be a benefit over the weekend. It's these type of events, the extreme weather, that we're going to be focused on. We've installed over 500 automation devices in neighborhoods. These are going to help us isolate faults or outages, and so we can get customers back on. We've trimmed over 8,000 miles of vegetation across the Houston footprint. These are areas where that'll reduce outages. All of this is our commitment of providing the level of service that our customers expect. And so what customers can expect from this is really improved service. Over the last year, we realized 100 million minutes of outages have been reduced. That's around 30 minutes per customer of outages that have been reduced from these efforts. And so all of this is in preparation for extreme weather events like the one that we're going to have this weekend. The one thing I want to reiterate to our customers is we're taking this very seriously. We're committed to get all outages restored as quickly and safely as possible. Any outage is too many outages for our customers. We know that. And so we will be diligently working to do that. So thank you for your patience. I'd like to turn it over to Tony Gardner, our Chief Customer Officer.
Thank you, Nathan. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tony Gardner, Senior Vice President, Chief Customer Officer here at CenterPoint Energy. I want to just give you guys a brief update on where we are in terms of communicating with our customers. We've sent out more than 1.8 million messages to our customers via email, text, and or phone call. We've also made contact with more than 2,000 of our critical and chronic care customers. And in our contact centers, we've doubled the amount of staff that we need to handle the incoming call volume and are now experiencing less than 2-minute wait times in our contact centers. Power Alert Services, I want to beg everyone, please go out and sign up for Power Alert Services if you have not signed up for Power Alert Service. You can sign up to 15 family members to receive messages as it relates to operations at your home. I also encourage everybody to make sure that you leverage our QR code. You can leverage our contact centers to sign up for Power Alert Services, or you can go to the web and sign up for Power Alert Service as well too. Outage Tracker. Our cloud-based auto-scalable outage tracker is available to everyone. It is one of the safest, quickest ways that you can go find out our estimated times of restoration and what's happening with us from our storm preparation, from our storm activities and operations as we're starting to restore power if anybody does experience a power outage. I also want to encourage everybody to leverage one of our newest features in our cloud-based outage tracker. It is the Report a Outage feature at the bottom right corner of the page. If you notice that there is a hazardous condition, I deploy everybody. Please, if you can safely, take a picture of the hazard. Take that picture, upload it to our website, do a brief description of what the hazard is, submit that to us so that our teams can take a look at it and make sure that we can mobilize crews to make that hazard as safe as possible so that we can restore power and make sure that no harm comes to anybody in our communities. I also encourage everybody right now to go out and bookmark our outage tracker in your mobile device or on your iPads or your PCs. Please, for additional information, go out and follow us on Instagram at CenterPoint_Energy, Facebook at CenterPoint Energy, and X at CenterPoint_TX. Thank you for your time. And with that, I'll turn things back over to Keith Stevens.
Hey, thank you, Tony. And let me just reiterate, the Power Alert service is a great and unique service that we have. If you have college kids, you might have an older parent. It's an opportunity for you to be able to know what's happening at their residence, at their premise, get information updates about what's going on with their outages or what the service is doing there for them. So with that, let's go ahead and open it up to any questions that we might have in the room.
Maria with KHOU here. I just had a question of, obviously this is going to hit several areas. Up north, if the power lines are affected, how will that impact our area?
Great question. I'm going to ask Nathan to come on up here. Or maybe we'll have Matt go first and talk a little bit about where we expect the weather to hit, and then Nathan can come up and talk about that.
Yeah, we're definitely monitoring areas to the north of here, and I think that, as you go north of Houston, obviously the risk kind of increases because that'll be where the colder air is. But we've been kind of, as we've been talking this week, it's been kind of focused on areas between College Station and moving over to about Lufkin, so areas to the north, just outside of our service territory. We figured we're probably going to be the hardest hit in terms of ice accumulation, and then obviously the risks sort of come down a little bit as you get closer into our area. But it's, we've been preparing with a fairly aggressive weather forecast for this event. So, we've been sounding the alarm on what could possibly happen up there, kind of in the worst case. But Nathan, I don't know what you want to add to that.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt. So the risk to really the ice, it accumulates on lines, it tends to pull it down. That's where you see the lines start getting on the ground. It causes the outage. So we think about potential icing north of our area. It could impact the transmission system up there. The good thing about the city, our footprint is we don't get our transmission from just one location. We get it from the west side, the southwest. So we have multiple areas to be able to bring power into the city of Houston.
Just staying quickly on the city of Houston, just a reminder that we do have one of the densest urban tree canopies in the country. We've done a ton of vegetation management. Nathan hit on 8,000 miles. That's the equivalent of going across the entire country a couple of times. So we've done a ton of work, but we've also had some extreme cold in the last couple of years. We've also been experiencing some drought. So while we've done a great job doing vegetation management, there's also trees that are outside of our right of way we're concerned about that may, break, collapse, branches, limbs, whatever, and fall into our line. So that's still a concern for us as we go into this weekend. And that's why we're prepared with this kind of army of 3,300 people ready to respond.
Do you Foresee any challenges having those frontline workers navigating the roads once the freezing rain sets in?
You know, safety is always our most important responsibility that we have to our CenterPoint workers, our contractors, and people that we bring in. I mean, maybe Nathan can touch a little bit on that, or either Richard. We'll be making sure that that the areas are safe that they're going into, but that's always our most important responsibility, is the safety of everyone. That's why we would implore everyone to please stay home if you're not required to be out this weekend. So if we do have crews out, they can be safe.
I'll go. Yep. So I think this would apply to either both our gas and or our electric folks. But we always stay ahead of the weather, and one of the things that's the beauty of having a meteorologist on play is we can identify where the ice troubles are, and we can give good safety tips to our employees to make sure that they can respond safely to any emergency. And then above that, we just we ask them to stay off of overpasses and anything that could be iced over, so that they can safely arrive and show up for our customers.
Those 600 additional workers, where are they coming from?
So the 600 crews are coming from outside the city of Houston. So some of them may be here in Texas, some may be outside of Texas. And so it's an assortment of different types of crews that are coming in.
Well, is it a challenge finding people from other states, given that half the country is under this same storm warning? Obviously, they've got troubles back at home, I'd imagine.
Sure. And I think that's what the beauty of the utility industry is we have mutual assistance groups, and we were all coordinating and talking to each other about resource needs, including materials. And so we have been communicating to folks in Louisiana, out to Florida, up in the Midwest. And so there is resources out there. And that's the other thing about this, is as this storm comes in, we'll understand where the impact is, and we'll start sharing resources. There could be a scenario where the city of Houston is not very much impacted, and we're sending resources up north to help restore power in another utility.
All right, any other questions for us?
Can you walk us, what type of communication can members of the public expect from CenterPoint, as we navigate this situation?
Sure, great question. It was, what kind of communications can they expect from CenterPoint during this type of situation? I think you've probably already seen a couple of days worth of the communications. We were very front-footed and very proactive. We're committed to making sure all of our customers and communities know what's going on. So you probably received an email from us detailing what we're doing. We're holding daily press briefings starting today through the end of the event. Certainly, we're providing updates. I won't say hourly on social channels, but pretty close. There will be no kind of dearth of opportunities for us to communicate, because we are focused on making sure that our customers know that we heard the feedback after 2024 that we did not show up well and that we did not communicate well. And so we will make sure that our customers and our communities hear from us significantly and often.
Do you foresee any scenario where you might need more than 3,300 workers you guys have now?
I'll bring Nathan up on this. We have a very conservative model. Matt built in buffer into his model. We've also built in some buffer into our personnel that we need. So we've assembled the group that we think needs to be able to respond if the ice comes in the way we expect it. In the event that it doesn't, as Nathan talked about, we can release some of those crews and send them to Dallas, other parts of Texas, other parts of the country, to make sure that they have the resources that they need. This is very much a team sport. This is not just CenterPoint acting by itself. All right, with that, why don't we wrap it up for today? We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you. And again, thank you to our customers and our communities, their patience during this time. Please be safe this weekend, and we look forward to updating you tomorrow about what we're doing. Thanks. Same time, yes. We plan for 5 o'clock tomorrow. The only caveat would be in the event that the city or county has a briefing, we don't want to conflict with that, so we would obviously go to a different time.